It's the Arch Advocate Show for Monday in the much anticipated June 9th. Red letter day today, folks. No introduction today with the sound of applause in the background. Look, I'm gonna design like my own little introduction, and I'm gonna reach out to one of the crypto creeps, and I'm gonna get some music that I can use, and without getting sued. But anyways, look, a lot to get to today. Big day historically. This is a day that will go down in the books, right? Anytime a Supreme Court justice is appointed, you know what I mean? Like, we keep records of that sort of thing, and we keep records of how it affects the progression of the American people, right? You can go back. See, listen, here's the problem. It used to be in America, we used to have, in our public education, we used to have what was called a civics class. And that's where you learned what was written in the Declaration of Independence, what was written in our Constitution, what was written in our amendments, and what they all meant. And you were educated on how things worked, right? But we don't have that anymore. They got rid of that, and they replaced it with social studies, right? And if you wanted to learn how, our government system works, somebody had to, on PBS, public broadcasting, whatever. What does PBS stand for? Public Broadcasting Service? Anyway, I don't know. But, they'd have to make cartoons talking about, I'm just a bill from Capitol Hill. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, that's no way to educate people. I mean, it is a way, but it's like, dude, people need to know who they are, right? I think it was Lenin that said, if you want to subdue a people, simply remove their history and they will forget who they are. Profound, right? Is that not profound? It's like, that's what happened when they got rid of civics class. Is that they took away our history. They took the words out of the mouths of the youth. And now our youth, it's a very scarce thing to find somebody who's under the age of 40 who can tell you why it is that it was so repulsive when Barack Obama said, well, I've got a pen and a phone. You know what I mean? Like, that was a turning point in U.S. history when he said that, and then the things that he was doing, with that sort of mentality. Like, I'll just write an executive order. I mean, thank God, though, we actually have laws that we can turn to and say, well, because you did it that way, well, then the next guy who steps in office, Donald J. Trump, all he's got to do is turn the switch off. Like, you didn't go get congressional approval? Oh, you didn't, put this through the Senate? You didn't put it to a vote? You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, then we're just going to toss it out because we have laws, right? And when there is a Supreme Court justice appointed to the United States, those people sit there until they die, right? You have, like, we have separation of powers, right? We have three equal but separate branches of government, and the Supreme Court is the executive branch doesn't have any power over that. The president can't just say, "Oh, you're fired," to a Supreme Court justice. Like, they either have to die or they have to resign, right? And that's what happened. Like, we have a Supreme Court justice who's leaving, and so Trump gets to put in who he wants, and that's how that works, right? So today, whoever Donald Trump appoints, that person is going to be there making decisions on behalf of the American people, and that person will be there until they're dead or until they resign, right? And the odds-on favorites, the smart money's on the nice Catholic lady, right? Now, this is going to be huge because, number one, Roe v. Wade, right? January of 1973, Roe v. Wade was passed. And in case you don't understand what this means, the problem with Roe v. Wade is that, you see, there's an amendment that says that the states, each state has the right to self-govern. That's why applying for statehood is such a big deal, right? When people talk about breaking up California into 3 different states or 6 different states or even 2 different states, it's not that easy. All right? You would have to break it up into states, and then 2 separate states would then have to apply for statehood. Right? Puerto Rico's been applying for statehood. Guam has been applying for statehood for decades. Right? And the answer has been no. Applying for statehood and getting it is a huge deal, because what it means is that you would you have to remove the state of California as it is. That means a state would be leaving the union, right? Even though it would be disappearing into annihilation. The forming of 2 separate states, dude, that's not something that you can just do, right? Because we have rules. And Roe v. Wade is the problem with Roe v. Wade is that it's a problem with the federal government interfering with the states' rights to self-govern, and that's what that amendment is about, right? The only thing that the Fed has the right to govern as far as the states goes is what's in our Constitution and what are the federal amendments to that Constitution. Things like the amendment, right? An amend means to change, right? To change, we wrote the Constitution and then we changed it. And the First Amendment was you have the right to free speech and religion and gathering together and forming and protesting and all that other sort of thing. The second one is obviously the right to bear arms and form a militia. Well, those things are guaranteed to you because we're in a federation. But anything that's not in the original documents, that is, the power then gets kicked down to the states, and they can say, well, you can do whatever you want with this. When it comes to marriage, right? When it comes to abortion, when it comes to, things that are like modern technology. Well, obviously none of those things were in the Constitution, so it's not up to the federal government to weigh in on that, because it's everything that's not in the Constitution gets kicked down to the states, right? Well, there's nothing in the Constitution about abortion, right? That's why it was such a controversial problem at the time. I mean, it's not the only reason, but one of the main reasons why is because the Fed was making rules about all of the states when it was something that was not in the Constitution, right? It should have been left up to the states on whether or not a state wanted to be an abortion provider or not, or have it legal or not. That's why, up until Indian casinos came along, the only places that you could gamble legally were New Jersey and Nevada, right? Because, the federal government says, well, this is illegal, but it's not in the Constitution, so to each and every state, it's like when it comes to gambling, since it's not in the Constitution, you can do whatever you want, right? So having a new Supreme Court justice is huge, and because when you have a bunch of people together that interpret the Constitution and what it all means, if they're all looking at it the same way, something like Roe versus Wade can get overturned very easily. Those people can come in and they can say, well, the fact is that in 1973, we didn't have the technology that we have today. We didn't understand everything that was involved, and furthermore, we have a history of making it so that when it comes to matters that are not already in the Constitution, then the jurisdiction gets kicked back down to the state. So what we're going to do is we're going to overturn this federally and just leave it up to the states. Right? You're going to have California and Massachusetts and all these other states. They'll still have abortion providers, but there's going to be a lot of states that are like, no, we don't want to do this. We don't want this in our state, and that's the state's right to self-govern. And leftists, they're going to have a problem with that, but it's the argument that those people are going to have, you can collapse that argument very quickly when you talk about it in the legal sense of like states' rights. Do you believe California should have the right to say to the federal government, we're going to make it legal for people to use cannabis in our state? And if you have DEA agents, federal agents in our state, they cannot operate in this capacity because we have the right to self-govern. We have deemed this plant to be, legal in our state. And if they do that, then the federal government cannot intervene. Why? Because there's nothing about cannabis in the Constitution except for the fact that it was written on hemp paper. But I digress. Listen, it is a huge day, and it's bigger because of what's going on in the world right now. And I'm very excited about this, and I want to talk to you about this, like the Great Awakening. It's the Great Awakening. The people, there's a lot of people who are of my ilk who will call what's happening right now a revolution. And that's not entirely inaccurate. I can see how you can use that word given the context of everything that's happening in the world right now, and in particular in the United States. Revolution is a word that can be used, but I don't think it's accurate enough. And the word revolution itself, it usually means you're looking to revolve. You're looking, you know what I mean? Like you're looking to destroy what's there and put something else in its place. And that's not what's happening in the United States. We're looking to say, look, let's just do what the book says. We have the Declaration of Independence, we have the Constitution, we have the amendments to the Constitution. Like, it doesn't take a brain surgeon. Let's just do what's in there. That's what got us to where we're at right now. Let's just keep doing that. Let's get back to what, the way we were doing it. Right? Like we've learned enough. Like we've learned how to make changes to it when the society realizes, like, okay, well, we need to make some changes regarding, I don't know, civil rights or whatever. But that's when you use that word revolution, it's like I don't think that that's really what's going on. I really believe, with every fiber of my being, I believe that we truly are going through a great awakening, a big one. And it's like even more appropriately, you could even call it a great rude awakening, right? Look at what's happening right now. Not just the bad things. Let's talk about some of the good things. There is on three different, I want to talk about three different points here in the awakening, right? And there are more than three, but I want to talk about three today. Number one, there is an awakening of patriotism. Now, we saw a similar awakening to this in September of 2001. All right, we all remember that fateful morning, right, on the 11th. There was an awakening of patriotism right after that. There was an awakening of people that stood behind their country, their countrymen, first responders, right? Boy, if you were a fireman in New York City back in those days, ooh-wee, there's a lot of babies being made back then, right? Patriotism. We all felt like a renewed sense, like, oh, wait, we were attacked, man, screw that, we're Americans. Like for a moment, there was a renewed sense of patriotism. But that's all that was there. There wasn't any other component to it other than that. It was an awakening to patriotism, but there was nothing else beside that. And so it quickly died out. In fact, not only did it die out, it reversed. Suddenly our nation's youth were saying, like, oh, well, we deserved that because of how mean we've been to those poor people there in the Middle East, right? Forgetting the fact that, all but two of those guys that flew those planes were from Saudi Arabia, right? But let me not get all conspiracy theory there. It very quickly, not only did it go away, but people began to make excuses for the people who attacked us and murdered 3,000 people. Innocent people who were just trying to go to work, right? People began to make excuses, and that patriotism, it quickly turned to apathy, and it turned to some sort of self-hatred for being an American. And I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I can't really speak to how all that happened, but it seems apparent to me that one of the reasons why that happened, it was because that renewed sense of patriotism that we had, and you remember it, right? Remember Germany wrote us a letter and they said, or in their newspapers, and they said, we're all Americans today, right? Everybody in the world is an American today. Remember that? Like there was that sort of pride. Like, hey, we're Americans. Like, you can't attack us. We'll come get you, right? But it went away because there was nothing else associated with it. There was no other sort of like right now what you're seeing is because of all of these people who've been trying to shame us for being Americans. And because we had a president who for 8 years went around the planet kissing the dirty buttholes of world leaders who hate us, and he would kiss their asses and fillet those people and give them money, and then after all of that degradation that he had committed, he then apologized, right? He went over to those people and sucked them off and then apologized on behalf of the American people. It was disgusting. It was as disgusting as I just described it, even more so. And people were looking at that saying, hey, whoa. You don't speak for me. You don't go to our enemy and apologize to them, and you certainly don't do it on my behalf, right? And now we have a whole nation, well, not a whole nation. Listen, it's not everybody, right? In fact, the numbers of the people who actually are on the side of these demonic socialists, they're actually pretty few in numbers, right? Compared, but we're in a place right now where we see things like in Portland, a group of men and women get together to pray, right? They get together to pray and they are attacked by some of our nation's youth. And those people stood up and they said, no, not only am I proud to be an American, I'm proud to be from Portland, Oregon. I'm proud to live here. And listen, Oregon's a beautiful state, right? And those are for the people who actually work and have jobs and whatever out there, like those are a hardy people. And there's people that live there that are red-blooded American people who are proud of their country. I want to get Rufio on here. I think he's being a little bit overwhelmed right now by the media attention, but I want to talk to that guy. Those people came together just to pray, and they were attacked for it. And so everybody in America who loves this country, they saw that and they understand now, like, oh, this is patriotism. This is patriotism. I love this country. I love the fact that I'm from here. I love the fact that everything good in the world that we have right now comes from here. Right? We conquered famine. We did that here. That comes from the United States. We figured out how to fly through the air like a bunch of Greek gods. That comes from America. We figured out automobiles. We figured out, cures to diseases. Like everything that's good in the world right now, it came from here in the last 100 and 150 years. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that no matter, like right now, I'm in the Macedonian Alps, right? I'm not in the United States, and everywhere I look, all around the world, everywhere I've been, I can see the influence of the United States and the freedom and the prosperity that it's brought. I'm very proud of that, right? But it's not just that people are being awakened to, is it? There's also an awakening, a rude, great awakening, right? Like, so first we talked about patriotism, right? There's a rude awakening, like, oh, well, perhaps we've dropped the ball as patriots. Like, as people who genuinely love this country, perhaps we've dropped the ball. Perhaps the reason why we've gotten so far away from our core values is because people like you and me, we got comfortable. It's all right, right? It's all right if you can admit it. It's all right if you can repent from it and say, oh, okay, yeah, I got a little lazy. Listen, we're rich, All right? In America, we are rich and we've not had to struggle for a very long time. That's going to breed complacency. It's going to breed fatness. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to breed laziness. We got lazy. That's how we got here. Because strong men, like you and me, we got weak. And this great rude awakening that we're going through right now is for us. It's a gift from God for us. This is God's way of saying, like, I meant for you to be strong. I didn't mean for you to be weak. This is not what I have for you. I meant for you to be strong. And so strong men are emerging. Strong men are hearing that call from God to be strong. That this is what God wants from us. This is the way to feel God in your body. Right? To feel like the conduit of God's will and God's goodness on this earth. Is to love your country and to love what you have and be grateful for what you have. There's nothing wrong with that. I love that. So it is a great awakening. It's like a rude awakening too. Like, you know, waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of a loud noise. It's like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, but thank God I'm alert. Right? Now that I'm awake, where's the fight? Right? So good one, Satan. You know, good one. What's that Pete Holmes book? Nice try, the devil. Right? There's this comedian named Pete Holmes, and he wrote a book, and that's what it's called. But it's like, nice try, devil. Yeah, you caught me. You caught me sleeping, but no more. Now I'm awake. So the great awakening, as it applies to patriotism, and next thing is this great awakening to the truth. Because for decades we have forsaken the truth as Christian people. I'm not talking about atheists. And I'm not talking about these pink pussy hat, man bun, skinny jean, latte, soy, foam, whatever drinking. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about you and me. The truth. You and I, we allowed it to happen. We allowed universities to teach our children that truth was relative. Right? It can mean whatever you want, man. Hey, we all evolved, so really, I mean, we're all just a bunch of animals. It's okay, man. Like, if you want to think that, dude, that's your truth. And look at the mess that has created. And look at the hole that it's left in the hearts of our youth. And even us, right? Dude, I'm 45. I'm not exempt from that. Right? And I realize that, you know, to somebody who's 20, I look like an old ass man, but believe me, you know, when you get to this age, you're going to understand, like, it's the age thing is very relative and becomes more relative the older that you get, you know. I grew up in that environment, particularly in the church. Right? Where in the church it was like, well, you know, Jesus said be nice to everybody, so you got to treat people the way you would want to be treated. And we use that as the jumping off point to allow people to do evil in our land. Well, Jesus said, you know, you got to treat them the way, I guess if that was you, you'd want to be treated different. Like, that's what we did. And now because of that deviation from the truth, people like me, and, you know, people that are maybe 10, 15 years older than me, and everybody younger than me, we all have this place in our heart, this gaping, you know, vacuum of where the truth should be, and we're starving for it. We're being awakened to that, to the growling of our appetite for truth. And that's a good thing. It's scary because it's like, oh my God, we have forsaken the truth. We have forsaken the truth, and now we have a generation of people walking around who don't even know what bathroom to use. Yeah, and don't laugh at that, man. Like, if you're listening, like, if you're living in the last, I know it's kind of funny. All right, go ahead and laugh. Now that you're done laughing, that's actually a real problem. That's a real problem. And people are walking around today thinking that offensive words and offensive ideas are actual violence. And to them it is. To them, They're so weak that they have not grasped that like, no, opposing ideas are good. They're good for you. Right? I've made this point before. Like, say you have somebody who is a Holocaust denier. Right? Now, to me, that's repulsive. It's insulting. It's, to me, it's like you have to practice and exercise ignorance. You know what I mean? And that takes a lot of work. It's one thing to be ignorant of some, like, if you ask me about brain surgery, I would tell you, well, I'm ignorant of that, because that means I don't have any knowledge of that. But like for people that are like Holocaust deniers and are well versed in it, it's like, wow, you studied to not know anything about this particular thing. That's like, to me, it's bizarre. But even though that offends me deeply, it's like, I'll still hear it out. I'll still listen to it because I need to know what those idiots think. I need to know why those people think that, so that way, if my sons ever come home and they say, hey, Dad, I found out today that the Jews weren't actually, murdered in death camps. You know what I mean? Then I will, if my sons ever come home and say that, I will be prepared to sit down with them and be like, oh, hold on a second, let's take this step by step, right? Because I'll know whatever it is that they know. In this example, obviously, my kids will be much smarter than to ever fall for something like that. But do you know what I'm saying? And we have these kids walking around that see that as being offensive. You know what I mean? They don't have that they don't know that truth. That wonderful truth that being offended is how you get sharper. It's how you get smarter and become stronger. And that's the price that you and we all are going to continue to pay until we've satisfied that debt. We're going to have to keep paying this price until we turn it around. And how are we going to turn it around is to be awakened to that need for precious truth. And to learn to be truth seekers, and to come together in community and discuss it and find out and give thanks for it and be grateful for it, even when it hurts. And the truth does hurt, almost always, right? So the great awakening of patriotism and the great awakening of truth is well underway, and there's something else that's happening, and this is really what I wanted to talk about today. There is an awakening in the church right now, and I'm very happy to see this. If you're like me, and now listen, I understand, I have good friends of this program, loyal listeners, guys, men and women that listen to the show regularly. And, some of them are atheists, all right? But I would say for the most part, now I don't actually have any numbers, but I'd say for the most part, most of you, men and women, you went to Sunday school when you were a kid, right? You said your prayers at night at least, or at least prayed over dinner or whatever. Like, you have some sort of Christian ethic. Christian upbringing, Christian education. All right, most of you, would you say that's fair? As we have grown up in those circles, we have heard that word revival thrown around quite a bit. And usually what revival meant was, some guest speaker that the church paid a bunch of money to. Some really good orator came to our church and got us all hyped up, got us all excited about something, one thing or another. And then it usually involved people going up to the front and speaking in tongues, or flopping around on the ground like a fish, or babbling like a weirdo. That's what we have been taught what revival is, right? But for many years now in my own personal journey with God, I've been more and more convinced that that's not what revival is. All right. Revival is like the Great Awakening. it's, revival is not, when the Israelites were freed from their bondage and their slavery to Babylon, or when the Israelites were freed from their bondage and their slavery to Egypt. That's not what revival was. The revival was in realizing that they had once again been enslaved, right? That's the revival. That they were awakened in their eyes and in their hearts. Like, you go back and you read like the book of Daniel and the book of Ezekiel, which, by the way, those were two prophets that lived at the same time in the same place, right? But one lived indoors and the other one lived outdoors. You can see what those people were preaching to the people, and you can sort of kind of put together a picture in your mind of the response of the people. What they had said to those people was like, look, we forsook our God. We walked away from what Moses taught us, and now we pay the price. But here's the good news. We can come home anytime we want. We can go home anytime we want. The Lord is with us. That's revival. That's revival, right? That awakening, that hardened, that difficult. How difficult would it be to wake up one morning as a slave and realize, like, oh man, I brought this upon myself. And I need to make the changes in me. And only I'm responsible for me. I need to make the changes in my own heart. And then God will set me and the rest of our people free. That's a hard thing to wake up to. That's a strong cup of coffee right there, folks. Is it not? That's revival. That's what I'm seeing in America. And not just in America. It's happening in Germany. It's happening in England. It's happening in France. I see it all over the world. Well, in the world that I've been in, which is over 20 different countries. But that's just me bragging. Everywhere I've been, I've seen it, little by little, right? Not everybody's on board. Not everyone who calls themselves a Christian is on board. But more and more I see it, this great awakening, this revival of like, oh, we are enslaved right now, and it's because of us. It's because of me. Because I didn't do the things that I knew I was supposed to do. Or maybe I didn't understand why I needed to do it, and that's why I didn't do it. But now we understand, don't we? Now we understand. Well, you get lazy and things start going horribly wrong, and things are horribly wrong. Why? Because you and me, right? The priests, right? The carriers of the torch, we got lazy. It's all right. It's okay. Wake up, right? Wake up, hear the birds singing. The Lord is with us. You know what I mean? Get yourself a cup of coffee and start practicing. You say you can't hear from God? Well, start practicing. It's not him, it's you. This I can assure you. Do you believe that there is a God? Do you believe that God is eternal? Do you believe that God has ever spoken? Okay, well then if you believe that God has ever spoken, then you must believe that God is always speaking. Because God lives in eternity. Right? So if he spoke once, he speaks eternally. And so if you can't hear him, clearly it's you. Right? Now if you don't believe in God, right? Like if you listen to Sam Harris, because Sam Harris was on Ben Shapiro yesterday, and which is another, look, I'm sure a lot of you guys like Sam Harris. I don't, right? His position on determinism, it's garbage. It's garbage, right? Here's what it's garbage on a number of levels. It's like, okay, well, if everything is determined, then I don't need to listen to you talking about determinism, right? Because if everything's determined, then I was previously hardwired. I was previously determined to not want to listen to you, which I don't. Therefore, I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to sit and reason with you because I'm already determined to not do that. You see what I'm saying? It's Calvinism for atheists. That's what determinism is. It's Calvinism for atheists. And I don't like Calvinism either, but that's a different show. We'll do that another time. But And by the way, one of my best friends is a Calvinist, but uh, I don't like that, right? But listen, if you're an atheist, okay, maybe you're an atheist because you went to seminary, which is the number one place that produces atheists is seminary, believe it or not. But if you're an atheist, but you have some Christian upbringing, like you know the stories, right? You know the stories. You know the stories that Moses parted the Red Sea, Jesus walked on water, and was murdered and staged his own resurrection. Like you know the stories, right? Like you're an atheist now, but you are aware of the stories. Well, that's fine too. That's fine. Like whatever, you know, we're all somewhere, right? Like nobody's crossed the finish line. If you're an atheist, then perhaps you could consider this. Now you believe that when scientists tell you, when physicists tell you that everywhere and everything in the universe, it's all made up of energy, right? Energy particles. You believe that? Do you believe that there's no such thing as a vacuum in space like we were taught when we were kids, right? Which is no longer taught anymore? That there's no such thing as a vacuum in the universe? That everything, all of space is jam-packed full with energy particles, right? Do you believe that? Okay, so then you believe that that something is simultaneously everywhere in the universe and is right here, right? Like that's it. That's energy, right? Do you believe that energy neither is created nor is destroyed? Right? Like when you die, your body is going to turn back into energy particles and it will be redistributed back throughout the universe. And then, you know, some of that energy is going to become whatever, right? Like, do you believe that it's eternal? That it cannot die, nor can it, you know, it cannot be destroyed, nor can it be created. Do you believe that? Okay, well, then we're not very far away from seeing eye to eye, right? Okay, well, do you believe that, you know, that when physicists tell you like we can observe energy particles popping in and out of apparently whatever this dimension is, we can see it leaving and we can see it coming back, and yet we don't know where it's going? Do you believe that? Okay, well, now that they're looking for, you know, what's called the God particle or the Higgs boson, you know, they're in, what is it, Sweden, with the world's largest, you know, particle accelerator. Like, do you believe, like those physicists believe, that there must be some sort of energy particle that causes other energy particles to become stone or become flesh or become oxygen or whatever? It's like, okay, well, now you're at least open to the idea that there is some sort of decision-making process that goes on within energy particles. Energy particles that are everywhere throughout the whole universe. Energy particles that cannot be created nor destroyed and live eternally. Like, do you see how close we're getting here? You're this close away from calling it by its name. It's fine if that's where you're at. Like, if you're an atheist. Okay, and final question. Do you believe that you are intelligent because of the way that the energy particles that make up you, do your energy particles, you know, because of the way that you've been formed, is that why you're intelligent? Or is it possible that the intelligence was already in the energy particles? And is that a working theory that is going on right now in the world of physics and quantum physics quantum physics? Do you believe that it's at least possible that the reason why you're intelligent is because you are made up of energy particles, and that the intelligence is actually in the energy? Well, then we're getting very close. You're very close. You're very close. By the way, it has a name, and it will converse with you if you learn its language. I can get further into that, but again, that's a show for another time. But there's a great awakening. There's a great awakening into you, dear atheist. Like, don't, you know, maybe the idea of admitting, like, I will admit to you right now, I cannot prove to you that there is a God. I can't do it. Right? I cannot prove to you that there is an eternal battle of good versus evil. I can't prove any of that stuff to you. I can give you evidence, but that's evidence is really it's subject to interpretation. But you look at it. You look around at what's happening right now, and you tell me if you cannot see evil. What did you just see this weekend? There was a man in Germany, a Muslim man, who chopped off the head of an infant and killed his mother. I think he raped her too, which is evil by itself. But then the German government caused the media to not broadcast that story. Why? Why would you want to keep that hidden from the eyes of your own citizens? If that's going on in your own country, why would you want to prevent people from finding that out? So just look at it like that. Like don't even theorize. Just look at it and say, well, can you at least make the case that perhaps there's something otherworldly happening here? That there's something demonic, something evil that's happening in that land, right? Or bring it back to America when we saw Maxine Waters, a representative of the federal government, a congresswoman, calling for the harassment of people who disagree with the left politically. And what happened? Within the first week, there were over 100 attacks that resulted in bloodshed in the United States of left-leaning people attacking right-leaning people. That happened. So if you're an atheist, I mean, can you forget trying to prove good and evil? What do you think? What do you think? Does that not look at least somewhat supernatural to you? Because if not, like, all right, then I guess you're a true atheist, and you can go, listen to Sam Harris talking about, well, it's all determined, so everything's permissible, I guess, because it's all been hardwired into us. Or you can join the awakening, right? You can be a part of the awakening, where people are proud to be born in the Western world, right? And people are proud of the accomplishments of whatever nation that they're from, as they should be, whatever nation that is. And people are proud that if they have come to the truth to any degree, right? If they've stumbled upon anything that is true and right, like these people, in the walk away movement, like that gay guy started it, right? Because he realized, like, man, these leftists, man, these are really violent people whose mouths are full of lies, right? And those people have come to the truth. Like, oh, these people are, like, there is some malevolent stuff going on over here. I don't want to be around that. That is coming to the truth. That's a small degree of it, but anything, those people should be sought out and praised. Like, good for you, man. Or woman, you're good. You came to the truth. And it hurt. Right? You look at that guy with, what's his name? Sorry. I meant to reach out to that guy over the weekend, and I didn't. But his name is, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, Brandon Straka. Sorry about that. Showing up unprepared. I'm going to reach out to Brandon. Hey, Brandon, like, if you're listening to this, please come on the Arch Advocate show. But he came to the truth, right? And it was very difficult for him. Very difficult. In fact, he's already realizing, because he was, somebody denied him service over the weekend just because of who he is. Now he knows. Now he knows the truth. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard. And it's ugly, right? But that's the thing about the truth. It's peaceful, right? He is now the recipient of all kinds of hatred, but now he knows there is a peace that is upon that guy right now. Like, because he realizes, like, oh, this is truth. And I would much rather be attacked by people and be denied service by people who hate me than to be separated from this thing that I've obtained, this knowledge of the truth, that those people are doing that because they're evil. And they're under some weird, I don't know, something supernatural. Atheists, can you not at least entertain that idea? There's something happening. And we are being awakened to it right now, and it's good. It is the great rude awakening. And I want to do everything that I can in my power with whatever I have, be it this podcast or the YouTube channel or sharing other people's work. Like, for example, over the weekend, I put up a video on YouTube where I didn't create the video, but I wrote the guy and I asked him if I could play it, if I could download it and play it on my channel, and he said yes. But oh wow, there's an age restriction on it. YouTube put an age restriction on my thing, but not on his. Boy, that's crazy. The Storm is Upon Us channel. Storm is Upon Us. I recommend that you go onto that guy's YouTube channel and hit subscribe. Also, please hit subscribe to my YouTube channel. But, shoot, where was I going with that? I don't remember. Oh, the Great Awakening. People are waking up right now. And it is a rude process. It's a difficult process, but it's long overdue. We get to be a part of it. And I, for one, am glad. And I'm glad that you're here with me. I'm glad, like, I've got over 5,000, well, actually now I have over 6,000 followers on Twitter, and all of them are like-minded people. I cannot be happier to know I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only one who sees it. And neither are you. You are not alone in this. Oh, that's what it was. Is doing everything in my power to aid this, to encourage this, and to let people know, like, you are not alone. You are not alone in this. And you need to, like, you must get around people in the flesh, like at church or whatever, Oath Keepers meetings or whatever. You need to get together with your neighbors because there's so much more coming. There's a lot more violence coming, and you need to be in community with people, with your neighbors. People who live in your town, live on your street, live in your community. You must do everything you can to reach out to as many people as you can who are like-minded, because there's more stuff coming. We are just now finding out that people at the very top of the FBI were dirty and demonic. We're just now, those allegations of child sex trafficking by the Obama administration and by the Clintons, all that, that stuff is now in the Inspector General's report. We are about to find out. And it may take years, but we are little by little, we are finding out. We have no idea how deep this goes. Scott Israel, the sheriff down there in Broward, he just got fired. Why? Because he was covering up so that he was covering up crimes so that he could get more money so he could drive a Lamborghini. We're just finding out. We have no idea. We have no idea how many other sheriffs are like that, how many other police chiefs are like that. We don't know, but we're going to be awakened to it. And that's why you need to be around people. You know what I mean? And also, most importantly, so that you always know that you are not alone. And you're not. You're not alone in this. There are many people, many, many, many people, just like you, who are seeing the exact same thing. You need to get together with those people. Come on to my Twitter page. Come on to our Telegram chat. Talk with us. Right? If you don't know what to do in your own neighborhood, just look up Oath Keepers. Look up, I don't know, whatever. Just go to church. Whatever. Find the people in your neighborhood. And you go be of service to those people and let those people know that they are not alone and that you're with them and that you love this country and that you love the truth and that you're proud to say, I am a follower of Jesus Christ. And in this battle of good versus evil, I'm going to be on the side of good. And I'm going to operate inside of the kingdom of God. And I will stand against this evil because I know that we've already won. We won 2,000 years ago on that hill called Golgotha. That's the show for today. Hey, listen, stay tuned. If you see me on Twitter, like if you see me posting things that are like shout outs to other people that I want to have guests on the show, please retweet that stuff and leave a little note for those people, right? I want to get people on. I want to get Brandon Straka on. I want to get Hotep Jesus. You guys heard about this guy? I want to get him on. I want to talk to him. A number of other people. But, Cole Leon Noir, I want to talk to that guy. I would love to talk with Ben Carson or Thomas Sowell, but, those guys are super famous guys. I'll still reach out to them, but, if I can't get them, I'll certainly understand why. That's the show. If you want to support the show, there's a number of things you can do. If it's money, I'll get to that in a second. But you know what really helps? Also, like if you don't want to send money, that's cool. Go on to iTunes, click the 5-star rating, hit subscribe. Like if you can subscribe to the iTunes, that's the one that's the big one for me. Leave a note, right? That stuff helps. Same thing with SoundCloud. Hit share. Leave a note. Like if you think I'm a crazy person, then leave a note for that. If you think it was a good show, leave a note for that. Hit share on your Facebook, on Twitter, all that other stuff. Gab AI, which by the way, if you don't have that already, you're going to need that because there is a twit-pocalypse coming in the future, the very foreseeable future. So, but if you do want to give money, you can go on to archadvocate.com. arch-advocate.com. You can become a monthly patron, little dough every month. Or you can send like just some one-time cash. That definitely helps as well on PayPal if you want. Other than that, hey, to the crypto creeps, all you guys that are still here, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. To new listeners, shout out to me. Let me know that you're there. I want to hear from you. It's the Great Awakening, folks. God bless you. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, whose name is the Lord. Amen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
The hour, no one knows the day. Jesus is coming soon. Oh, creation trembles, longing for the day. Jesus is coming soon. There will be judgment and there will be mercy on that terrible day. The sound of the this world confound the strong. Rest of the peacemakers, a whole new war. Hear the sound of the Lion of Judah. See the fire and the fear in the enemy's camp. From the sound of the Lion of Judah roaring again. There's a new generation rising, a nameless, faceless, placeless tribe. All they fear is the fear of the Lord. All they hear is the Lion of Judah.